Who are you? Are you a child, a parent, a friend, a worker? Are you young or old, strong or fragile, healthy or unwell? Are you an artist, a reader, a gamer, an engineer, an accountant? Are you your memories, your talents? What are the properties that define you? What about your body? Are you your body? Or are you in your body? Just notice, whether sitting, standing, or walking. Look at your hand. Are you in your hand? What about your chest, beneath the steady rhythm of a heartbeat? Or are you inside your skull, peering out the window of your eyes? We live as if there's an obvious center within us, a watcher behind the face, steering the body, seldom questioning this intuition. But when you look for it, what do you truly find? Change is inevitable. In the end, all who are young grow old. All who are healthy decline. Children grow up, workers retire, friends drift away. Memories are made, and then they fade. And yet, despite this, a feeling persists, a sense of continuity, a familiarity, a self we call me or you. But what must endure for the self to remain? If you lost a hand, would you still be you? Even without your favorite hobby? What if you lost your job, your family, your community? What about all at once? What if you lost your sight, your hearing, even your memory? Considering all of this, where do you actually dwell? Which of these are you? Throughout your life, you've already gained and lost so much. Childhood friends, forgotten passions, entire versions of yourself that might as well now be strangers. We mourn what our past selves took for granted, clinging to them as though they still define us, unable to accept the inevitability of change. Shadows of the past blur into the reality of today and the hopes of tomorrow. So, are you merely a collection of experiences and memories? An emergent pattern labeled you and me, a self? As introspection deepens, the ground that once felt solid begins to shift. Start by tracing the chain of cause and effect. A thought arises, the body responds. The brain and nervous system directed this. Yes, they moved your hand as it reached for the cup. Notice we speak of these as separate from the self. My body, my brain, my heart, my hand. We treat them as possessions. I have these, but I am somehow apart from them. They are not me. But does this make sense? So then what is this singular you, said to be in charge of it all, yet found in none of it? The self, also called the ego, is a master storyteller. An unceasing narration of thoughts, weaving meaning and judgment around the whole organism, desperate to endure and impose significance on a reality otherwise indifferent to us. It builds a model of reality from memory and experience, then projects forward, predicting, explaining, simplifying. It forms a scaffolding of beliefs that filter all perception. But the ego always arrives late. It rushes in after the fact, stitching fragments into a coherent tale, like a historian summarizing events that they never witnessed. It takes credit for what went well, while refusing responsibility for when things go wrong. The ego is the sensation of having thoughts about thoughts, giving fleeting moments the illusion of permanence, mistaking what passes for something solid, mistaking what arises for self. It clings to the idea of an isolated subject, the thinker of thoughts, the feeler of feelings, the knower of knowledge. Yet it is more analogous to a structure formed from the whirling of passing particles, seeming substantial but with no core. Like a tornado, formidable, though really only the motion of dust and wind, a momentary effect of the weather. From its imagined throne, the ego casts judgment on everything it encounters. A glance from a coworker, a silence in the room, an unanswered message. Every exchange has stakes. Every gesture reveals something about them and you and me. Pride, vanity, envy, jealousy, and shame, the ego's reflexive judgments. It happens so quickly, so automatically, so persistently. The feelings become familiar and safe. It feels like an identity. It feels like us. You exist only here, in this passing moment, right now. What do you truly share with your younger selves, with whom you once were? Physically, you're not the same. Nearly every cell has turned over. Some memories remain, though their accuracy is uncertain. Desires shift, abilities fade, labels change. Entire versions of you have emerged and vanished. But what is this me that feels central across it all? Non-dualism challenges the distinction of mind and body. We don't just have bodies, we are the body, identical to it, an expression of the whole system, an experience indivisible from it. And deeper still, you're not separate from anything else around you. The chair beneath you, the air in your lungs, the water in your blood, all the same material forged within countless generations of stars, drifting through the cosmos for eons before momentarily gathered into the fragile and temporary system that we call ourselves. You are not an object, you are a process, less of a thing and more of a fleeting configuration, always in motion and always changing. Like a wave rising from the deep, you appear for a time, only to collapse back into the sea. Like a cloud, you seem to hold shape, unaware you have been dissolving into the air all along. What feels solid is illusory. What seems enduring is temporary. And soon enough, as it has for everything and everyone before, you too will return, dispersing back into the mystery from which you arose. Yet, the ego mounts its defense, insisting on drawing boundaries where none exist. This is me. This is not me. Often a useful heuristic, often not, but never the complete truth. When we step back to scales incomprehensible to our ordinary senses, from the infinitesimal scale of molecules to the expanse of galaxies and the cosmos, boundaries blur. Particles exchanging and transforming, unconcerned about where one thing ends and another begins, operating across the vastness of space and time. The obscurity and immensity overwhelms our intuitions. In all of this, where can the separate self be found? Even here, in our ordinary human scale, can you survive without air or water? Can you survive outside the Earth's narrow band of temperature, pressure, and gravity? You move about the planet, but can you ever really leave it behind? Even in submarines or spacesuits, don't you have to bring the Earth with you? To what extent, then, can you even be defined as distinct from it? The feeling of being an independent object, a subject to experience, enduring and certain, reveals itself as just another feeling, just a story that we identify as ourselves. So what are living things? Well, what is everything else? Life is a choreography of activities sustaining a system just long enough to replicate itself, with variations, for a time. A process that produces copies of the process. A cell is a colony of smaller processes in concert. A multicellular organism is a colony of cells specializing to sustain the whole. We label things, species, organism, individuals, people. But in reality, there are only gradients, continuities and transformations without clear boundaries. All lineages descend from the same tree of life. We all have the same ancestors. Definitions strain to define what really is. Even our language is limited by our concepts. We say a tree has leaves, but we don't say the tree is the leaves. Is a leaf truly separate from the tree? Without leaves, is a tree still a tree? What about its branches, its trunks, roots, the soil, or the air around it? Where does the tree end and the non-tree begin? Or are they all just parts of one whole? Are we any different? If you watched births and deaths sped into seconds, the forms would not look like people or organisms at all, but patterns, intricate beyond design, rising from the constituents of the surroundings, sustaining a form momentarily before subsiding back into them. The ego rejects this fluidity. It wants to contain what is moving, to make the continuous discrete. But reality is too vast to be captured this way. We cling to the certainty of our categories and concepts, mistaking the map for the territory. Beneath that clinging lies anxiety, the resulting mismatch between concept and experience. Our identity promises comfort. We pride ourselves on having the answer, on being the kind of people who know, who make the right decisions, who believe we know ourselves. But people leave, roles change, bodies age, and knowledge fades. What arises will pass, whether we like it or not. Close your eyes and wait for the next thought or feeling to arise. Notice, did you choose it? Why that thought, and not any of the other countless thoughts you might have had? Where did it come from? Where did it go? Did you create it? Or was it just simply there? Thoughts are not ours in the way we imagine. They are events, unbidden flickers in awareness, impersonal. Yet the ordinary feeling insists, I am thinking, I am deciding, I am in control. But you no more know your next thought than you know my next word. If you cannot predict even your next thought, then how can you be the thinker? Everything is impermanent, even us. If it was not there in the beginning, it will not remain at the end. And when your identity depends on what may be lost, suffering is guaranteed. And yet, we can glimpse a reality with no self. And this is no reason to despair. In fact, that very feeling of despair is the self resisting, its fate bound to the survival of what it knows. Peel back enough layers searching for the true center, dive deep enough, and eventually you discover that nothing remains. We've all experienced ordinary moments when the self falls silent. Boundaries blur, effort dissolves, and we surrender completely. Lost in a book, the reader vanishes. Captivated by a film, only the story remains. In sport, craft, or music, action unfolds effortlessly, as if inevitable. In the rush of young love, the self disappears into the immediacy of the moment. In those moments there is only experience itself, vivid, whole, and luminous. The clarity is not born of effort, but the absence of it. The self has stepped aside. Even in ordinary conversation, we are unaware how words are chosen or spoken, or why one cadence emerges over another. Speech, like thought, simply happens. The ego is always at war with itself and with reality, forever demanding things be other than they are. At least for now, at least for us. It yearns for validation, demands constant upkeep, and remains brittle, cracking easily, leaking, and eventually breaking. The flow state is what remains when the self dissolves. It's what was there all along. If experience can be so full, so vivid, so effortless, without any sense of me directing it, then what does that say about the very idea of self? If life can unfold without it, if joy and clarity arise most when it is gone, how real was it ever? Most of the suffering we name, anxiety, shame, jealousy, is simply the felt burden of maintaining the illusion of a separate self. So what remains when the self is gone? When there is no ego, no fixed center, no anchor to experience? What's left is simply awareness itself, as it has always been. This open field of consciousness, with experiences rising and fading within. A vast expanse, forever present, rich and immediate, always available here and now. The ego is nothing more than a tangled web of thoughts and memories, a story unfolding in that conscious space. It is the feeling of separation, of being the imagined author of the tale, the illusion that there is a thinker of thoughts, a feeler of feelings, the knower of knowledge. When attachment to the self first loosens, it is common to feel sadness, as though something important has been lost. But this too is the ego, still clinging to status, still protecting its domain, only now grieving its reduced importance. True ego death is not a loss. Absent the self, thoughts, and thoughts about thoughts, still arise, just as they always have. But seen clearly as a temporary appearance, the relentless recursion ceases. Meditation and mindfulness do not seek to silence negative thoughts, not to achieve some goal or end state. There is no purpose other than to notice what can be noticed. When consciousness and its contents are observed, the ego retreats, its flame starved of fuel. Patterns of energy arise and fade with no solid core. In noticing you are lost in thought, the layers of self unravel, and only pure experience remains. Experience prior to judgment and identification. When you are no longer in the way, you can glimpse what has always been there. The ego grips us all. It is our species' default, an ancient survival tool for a dangerous environment. Useful in many contexts, but not to be confused for who we really are. The ego longs to feel special, to believe it matters, to be certain it is right. It is restless, status-seeking, desperate to defend its centrality. When left unnoticed, this selfishness isolates and divides, exaggerating differences that do not meaningfully exist. Even if a soul endures beyond death, this present sense of self, with all its biases, regrets, and shame, along with this very moment, remains impermanent and will be lost forever. Clinging to permanence blinds us to the sacred immediacy of now, to the improbable convergence that has brought us together here. Our existence and this shared encounter is fleeting, mysterious, and miraculous. Sit quietly and notice thoughts as they emerge. Feel what can be experienced before the ego's judgment. Anxiety may arise. Feel the energy of it and where it is felt in the body. Anger may come. Notice the warmth, the pulse. Tiredness may settle in. Notice the heaviness around your eyes and face. And yet, awareness was there before the arrival of these sensations and remains after they fade. Greet these sensations with a childlike openness and curiosity, without clinging or aversion. The awareness of anxiety is not itself anxious. The awareness of anger is not angry. The awareness of tiredness is not tired. Just watch the mind and everything that happens. Notice the changes. Pulses of energy flow and fade. If discomfort arises, notice that too, because what arises will eventually pass. Everything is temporary. In time, you will see there is no solid self behind it all, only the unfolding of experience itself, here and now. When the illusion of a fixed self dissolves, compassion naturally deepens. Love, joy, and peace can be felt directly, precisely because they don't need to mean anything about anyone. They are simply experienced as they are. Nothing to improve or fix. No judgment of you or me. All that remains is what has been here all along. This present and passing moment.